In today's video, we're reviewing a 2013 Volkswagen Touareg TDI. Now the Touareg is the sibling of the Porsche Cayenne and shares a lot of the same mechanics as the Audi Q7. The Touareg was first introduced to the US market for the 2004 model year with a new second generation model introduced in 2011. That second generation was produced through 2017, and then the Touareg was sadly discontinued and replaced with the Volkswagen Atlas. The second generation of the Touareg was offered with three different powertrain options. The first was a 3.6 liter V6 gas engine that had an EPA rating of 16 miles per gallon in the city and 23 miles per gallon on the highway. The second option was a 3 liter V6 supercharged hybrid that had an EPA rating of 20 miles per gallon in the city and 24 miles per gallon on the highway. And then the third option, like this vehicle, has a 3 liter TDI diesel engine that is turbocharged, and it's got an EPA rating of 19 miles per gallon in the city and 26 miles per gallon on the highway. All three of those options come with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I actually owned a 2004 Volkswagen Touareg and I'm a huge fan of these vehicles. They offer a really nice combination of car-like handling and truck-like capability. Unlike a lot of SUVs on the market, the Touareg is actually very capable in off-road settings, and it's got a really impressive towing capacity. This diesel version of the Touareg comes with a towing capacity of 7,700 pounds. Styling-wise, it's a really great looking car as well. I really liked both the first and second generation Touaregs, but the second generation definitely, I would say, has a slight advantage styling-wise over that first. It gave it a little bit more rounded edges and just a more upscale European look. You can see one of the changes was the LED light strips on the front headlights, which, you know, was one of the first vehicles on the market with those LED strips. And then just walking around the side of the vehicle, it's just got a really rugged and yet luxurious looking style about it. The Touareg, like I mentioned, is a sibling to the Porsche Cayenne, and you can see a lot of the same shape and design to the vehicle from the Cayenne. Obviously, they both have a very distinctive look that is, pays respect to their individual brands, but you can tell that a lot of the same proportions are there, and just the overall kind of shape of the vehicle still carries over a little bit between the two. In some ways, I actually like the style of the Touareg more than the Cayenne. I think they're both really great looking vehicles, but there's something to me that it's, with the Cayenne, it still looks like a slightly bloated Porsche 911, while the Touareg has a very distinctive style about it that's, very unique to this vehicle. And I think it's a shame that in 2017, they cut the Touareg and kept the Cayenne. Obviously, the fact that these two vehicles are very similar mechanically means it would have been pretty easy to continue to produce the Touareg, but unfortunately the sales volumes probably played a significant role in that. Now, I mentioned that the Q7 has a lot in common with the Touareg as well, mechanically speaking, but it's at the same time a much more separate vehicle, I'd say, than the Touareg and the Cayenne. Much less capable off-road, and it's got a longer chassis that fits in that third row seat. So that is one nice advantage of the Q7. The Q7 is also a little bit more road focused, so you get a little bit better gas mileage and a little bit better on paved roads driving when compared with the Touareg and the Cayenne. But for that off-road driving, either the Touareg or the Cayenne is going to be more capable. Now, one of the really cool things about the Touareg is that it really took the Volkswagen level of luxury to a whole new level. I think maybe that was one of the mistakes they made with this vehicle, and part of why they cut it is that it was direct competition for Audis and Porsches, and since they're all owned by Volkswagen, there wasn't really an incentive to have a less expensive option that was just as nice on the market competing with their own brands. But that's the cool thing about the Touareg, is that you're getting a vehicle that has much of the same styling, technology, mechanical capability, performance, but for a much lower price. And like I said, I think it looks just as good or better than either of those vehicles. That high level of luxury and style on the exterior of the vehicle definitely carries over to the interior, where you can see that the Touareg has a very premium cabin inside with a really nice overall design. I remember when the first generation of the Touareg came out, I thought it was probably the most attractive interior of any vehicle that was on the market. And the second generation is obviously just a progression on that. A lot of really nice accents with some of the brushed aluminum. And just all Volkswagen Audi vehicles have a really nice level of refinement in their designs. I feel like a lot of times that Volkswagen kind of holds back because they don't want to cannibalize the Audi brand, which, you know, is its luxury brand, and so they intentionally try not to put their best effort in. And I feel like on the Touareg, they kind of had that free reign for once to really push the limits and create a vehicle that's just as nice as its German sibling. And I think it's unfortunate that we don't see that through more Volkswagens in the Volkswagen lineup. They're still nice vehicles, but they don't have the same premium level of design and quality that you see in the Touareg. See, obviously with the Touareg, like just about any other premium SUV on the market, you do get a large center screen, got navigation, Bluetooth, all your media is controlled through that. No push button start, surprisingly, on the on the Volkswagen. It does have kind of a unique key that you insert here and then you turn. Got the volume controls on the steering wheel here. Some other vehicle setting controls. Really nice center console. It's got kind of almost a bluish tint to the screen that for some reason I just really think looks cool. Talked about some of that off-road capability. All you got to do is flip this switch and it can drive off-road, no problem. But there's actually, to be serious, there is some pretty advanced off-road capabilities in these Touaregs. More so with the first generation. They actually cut some of that technology with the second generation, added a lot of weight and cost to the vehicle, but these are still pretty capable. So we've got the heated seats, dual zone climate control. You can see just looking at the video how nice these seats look. They're every bit as comfortable as they appear. Also a fan of the dark brown leather. My wife thinks it looks really ugly, but I think it offers a really nice premium look. And the Touareg, when the first generation came out, was one of the first vehicles on the market that had that darker color. It's become a little more common since then. Check out the size of that panoramic sunroof. These are fairly common these days, but to see one that's that long, stretches back that far, that thing is huge. Offers a lot of nice natural lighting inside the cabin. Obviously, you've got full power seats, plenty of controls there. Settings here, automatic settings for 3 different drivers. You can set those personalized settings. Jumping into the back, the Touareg does have a very spacious rear seat. I think it's unfortunate that the Touareg isn't offered with a 3rd row seat, but obviously the proportions of the vehicle wouldn't necessarily allow that. You can see sitting back here, I'm 5'10", so plenty of headroom, and then enormous amount of legroom. More than enough, so definitely creates a luxury feel in the back seat for those passengers. Got a folding center armrest. Also didn't mention we do have the vents in the rear. Nice option. And we'll jump around to the rear of the vehicle. It's got a lot of cargo space in the back. It's a really good kind of luxury option to something like the Jeep Grand Cherokee too. I'd say the proportions are very similar on this vehicle. Just offers a little bit higher level of refinement. And in terms of off-road capability, they're probably kind of on par with one another. I'd say the main difference is you're probably going to see a little bit more expensive repairs and maintenance on the Volkswagen, but you're also benefiting from a nicer ride quality and higher level of refinement and luxury. So you got that dual exhaust in the rear. The middle row seats also fold flat so that you can get larger items in the back. and then that middle seat actually folds down as well. And so that's kind of a nice option to be able to just fold down the middle seat so the two outside seats can still be used and you can have an object going right through the middle of the vehicle. You gotta make a run to the hardware store or something. So that's an overview of the exterior and interior of the vehicle. Let's take it for a drive and see how it runs. So one of the things that's most surprising about this vehicle when you turn it on is how quiet it is. Given that it's got that diesel engine, you'd expect there'd be a little bit more of a clank that's more obvious, and yet it really doesn't sound any louder than what you get on just a normal gasoline engine. I had a diesel Jetta, and while that's a great vehicle, you could definitely tell that it was a diesel. And I've done some other reviews. The ML320 from Mercedes, that's got a very obvious clanking sound as well. And in this vehicle, you can hear that, it just sounds like a gasoline engine. So that's a really nice feature about this vehicle. Unfortunately, Volkswagen doesn't make the TDIs anymore because of the emission scandal with Volkswagen and Audi. And so this is a little bit of a novelty in that sense because Volkswagen is not planning on bringing those back to the market. Now the Touareg does have really good driving characteristics. It's a very quiet vehicle. It's got really nice stiff suspension, and so it feels really good going around corners, not a lot of body roll, and the steering's got a really nice premium feel to it, much more like what you'd expect in a sports sedan. But with that said, it's definitely still a truck. You can tell the difference driving this vehicle compared with something smaller like I've got an Audi Q5. That drives a lot more like a car. You can definitely tell that this is a truck. It takes a little bit more effort accelerating, and it just feels like a heavy vehicle. Now we'll go ahead and punch the gas here and give you an idea of how this accelerates. So you can hear that turbo kicking in. I'd say it's pretty quick. It's definitely not as fast as my Q5, which I wouldn't expect it to given the weight of this vehicle, but it's more than adequate. That's definitely quick enough that you don't have to worry about merging onto the highway. I'd say that passing power is going to be plenty adequate, and it's got really nice characteristics in terms of the transmission shifting fairly smooth, and the power delivery being very even. Now, one thing that I think is really nice about Volkswagens when compared with Audis is that, again, because they're kind of competing with each other, they intentionally try to not make these quite as nice as the Audi models. And with that, you get a little bit of an added level of simplicity. Looking at just the design of the dashboard, everything's very intuitive and easy to use. You've got your climate control settings down here where you've got your heated seats, and adjusting the temperature is very simple. You've also got the media controls right up here, all very easy to figure out and control. If you jump into the Audi model, the Q7, it's going to have Audi's MMI infotainment system, which has a much nicer premium feel, look, design to it, but it's also a lot more complicated because all of those controls are controlled through this central system with a little knob here, and so you've got to go through all these different settings on the screen to try to adjust your heated seat or your climate control settings, and so it's a little bit more complicated. Audi has improved that system since it was first introduced around 2008, 2009, and they've kind of actually pulled out a lot of those climate control settings and gone back a little bit more to this type of format, probably because of some of that feedback from owners. But that's the great thing about the Volkswagen is, that it is a little more simpler when compared with the Audi. So that's an overview of the 2013 Volkswagen Touareg. This is an awesome vehicle, definitely one of my favorite premium SUVs on the market. I think it's really cool that you get a lot of the same luxury and performance that you get in the Porsche Cayenne and the Audi Q7, but for a lower cost. If you're in the market for a premium SUV, I would say the Touareg is definitely a good option to consider, but hurry and get one before they're all gone. Since they're discontinued, it's going to become a little bit harder to find them on the market. With that said, if you've got any comments or questions, leave those in the section below. For more car reviews, subscribe to my channel. In the meantime, thanks for watching.